All right, what's going on, everybody? So, yes, I am back. And before we get into this, I'm just going to let you know everything on the website is continuing. We are getting more music and content and videos and stuff like that uploaded. Also, the Solar Returns will still be on sale for Benjamin for $100 until Aries season is over. Once Aries season is over, the sale will be over. And yeah, that's just how it goes. So, let's get into this. This is called hashtag acknowledge little mama. And I didn't say support little mama because, that's up to you. That's your decision. You know what I'm saying? I understand that people from all walks of life have different perspectives. Therefore, they may not be the type to say, oh, yeah, I support that just because you said so. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not that oblivious. What I'm going to say is this, though: acknowledge little mama. And if you don't know, recently, Little Mama, first of all, Little Mama is an artist, a creator from Harlem, New York, and she had just made a statement not too long ago about forming a platform or group of some sort that supports the straight, whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, but the straight heterosexuals in the world today, in defense of being bullied by homosexuals and the I don't know if it's the LBG, that community, or just homosexuals in general, right? In defense because there's some bullying and combating going on, especially when it comes to the industry or particular industries that people try to break into. It is alleged. I'm gonna say alleged just to be, just to make it fair for everybody to put their 2 cents in, right? But people have their own experiences and their own stories or whatever the case may be, and that is what the general idea of this group that she is forming is for. I'm not saying she's lying either, So, I know, or I would gather that she wouldn't even come across to say anything like that, especially with her being in the entertainment industry, where so many of those types of individuals are. There's no, you know what I mean? There's no reason to do something like that when the potentiality of the consequences can be dire to her career. So I give her the benefit of the doubt when it comes to those things. So that's me personally, though, right? So again, I'm not going to push my perspective on all of you. What I want to do is explain an objective way of what's going on in astrology. So here we go. And that's why I called it acknowledge hashtag acknowledge little mama, because at least acknowledge what she's saying right now. Me personally, I've brought this up and just, in amongst conversations with my peoples about, and this was years ago, about, like what happens if a straight person gets jumped by a bunch of homosexuals, or, attacked by a group of homosexuals, hit on by a group of homosexuals. I doubt that if they were arrested for that type of offense that they will be charged with a hate crime. Okay, that was my attitude and still is today. So on the contrary, if you attack someone in that manner, with slander, or, because of their sexual preference, you will be charged with a hate crime. So it puzzled me, you know what I mean? Because again, this stuff does happen. People do get hit on when, without people even asking, I guess, are you into that, or, are you a homosexual, or whatever the case may be. And the energy is getting bolder in the air, should I say. And again, because of certain positions that these types of sexual preferences hold in today's society. So I said acknowledge what she's saying because of these types of things. So if another thing that's making headlines lately is Arkansas being in the news, and I salute the state of Arkansas, because what if it comes down to one day that the homosexuals become so, I'm not going to say brave because they're already brave, but become so forceful that, you know, they pervade through policy to shape and form what the majority of society is supposed to be. And then the next thing you know, they're running up on people in the streets. So like you may hear about how people rape other people and stuff like that. I know this is kind of sensitive stuff, right? But you hear about stuff like that, and who knows, maybe they may grow to that extent to where they start running up on people and thinking that they can do that. So what's happening is Arkansas is initiating it, and I hope it follows through. I heard about appeals going through and things of that nature. It at least lets me know that the Aquarian energy, what we're really going to talk about, is expanding to the truth to its fullest extent, not just a homosexual world, because Aquarius rules over homosexuality, y'all, in case you didn't know that. So this is how we're going to bring this in. So as you see, we got the diagram up here, and we're going to begin by talking about the entertainment segment of the astrological wheel, the same as we did in the last video. If you haven't checked out the last video, it was a good video. Good feedback on that video as well, y'all. See y'all in the comment section. I'm gonna get to y'all either before this is posted or right after this gets posted. Thank you. I appreciate that, because I took my time to break it down and like really explain to y'all how this goes or whatever the case may be. So let's get back to that whole fifth house runs entertainment and astrology, which it does, which the natural ruler is Leo. Let's begin there. So you notice I have the sun there, of course, because the sun rules over Leo. And when it comes to monetary metals, monetary things in the world, period, the tangibles, the sun also represents gold. Okay, so if you see on the opposite side of Leo is the sign Aquarius, 180 degrees away from Leo is the sign Aquarius. It opposes each other. Opposition is an aspect in astrology, y'all, which basically states like this: if something is on the other side, it opposes you. It's basically self-explanatory. It's the opposition. So it doesn't mean that you have to stay away from it or you have to avoid it. There is a lesson that can be taught when you do go over and see what it is on the other side of things, because you may experience the type of uncertainty that you don't have to. There may be something on the other side that you can possibly benefit from should you face your opposition. You understand? So it's not written in stone that because it opposes you that it's evil or it's harmful or to always avoid it. Discretion is, that's different for readings, and that's when you got your personal reader that you can tap into like that and ask, some recommendations and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is Aquarius opposes Leo on the other side of astrological wheel, right? So, again, I said astrology is ruled by the sign Aquarius. So you see, and that's a terrible rendition of a rainbow, right? But that's the best I could do. I was very late last night when I was drawing up this diagram. That's my excuse. So that's my rainbow over there, right? So what happened is the homosexual community hijacked the symbol of the rainbow. And I'm saying that because, symbols always get hijacked. You see the swastika, that did not originate to be representative of those types of people, what the Germans did and things of that nature. That symbol goes way back to Egypt and stuff like that. That was hijacked and used for its own, intent, recreated or whatever the case may be. So the rainbow is the same thing, right? If you look into some biblical texts, they'll tell you that God gave a sign to the people that it won't destroy the world, I believe, this time again, and that indicator would be the rainbow, right? So here it is now. We have the homosexual community have hijacked the rainbow and used it for their representation. And I bring that into the equation and the explanation because, and if I don't know if you've been familiar with my older videos, I did a video in Secret Houses podcast that says the word gay was taken out of context. See, now I believe if you look up the word gay in the dictionary, it'll say something about homosexual and stuff like that. But back in the days, gay just meant happy. That's it. A happy individual. And a lot of the times it will be referenced as a man, a happy man, right? So I'm going somewhere with this. Check me out. So the reason why I put happy over the rainbow, right, is because, of course, it's been taken out of context now and it's been filtered into this homosexual thing. But if you think about relationships between opposite genders, to see a relationship where two people are happy and at an opposite gender these days is like impossible. or it doesn't make sense, or it's not considered a real relationship. Correct me if I'm wrong. Get inside of the comment section. And for those of you who are couples and are married, I commend you if you two are happy. You probably struck oil when finding your mate, knew it was the one, whether it's a soulmate or any type of attachment. Or maybe you even looked at your astrological charts and you see that, you got some strength. Maybe when you got Saturn in the 7th house. So, it just works well for you guys. You know what I mean? Kudos to y'all if y'all have a happy relationship, because it tells all of us that it is doable. You know what I mean? But apart from that, when we look at society, right, and I'm saying published a lot of the times, we see toxic relationships ruling. They're at the forefront of relationships. Whether it's reality TV, you got to be toxic in some type of way to keep people engaged, to keep people involved. And although some of these things are scripted on television, when you come from where I come from, you see these things occur a lot in real life. I'm going to just keep it a buck with you, And behind closed doors, a lot of people are acting like everything is okay, but behind closed doors, they go through a whole lot of toxic things of that nature. So if you see a man that is happy, it's probably because they're by themselves. And again, I'm going to just speak for myself where I'm from. A lot of women don't like that. A lot of women don't like to see men happy. You know what I'm saying? And they'll go as far as saying, oh, he must be gay. You know what I mean? They'll take it there. And if you don't argue or quarrel with them, it like fuels their fire for insinuating such a thing. You get what I'm saying? So the next thing that men have tapped into doing is arguing excessively with women, or becoming toxic when they get in these relationships, because it seems the only way to carry on tradition, I guess you could say, or to make it seem like it really is a relationship, or to set the stage for drama is the only way to make it seem like it's real. This is a real thing. And stop me if I'm wrong. If you disagree with me, get in the comment section. I'm very open-minded. Y'all know that already, right? But I'm going somewhere with this, and I'm going to keep on going. So, again, happy, associated with the rainbow now because of the word taken out of context, gay. You got the rainbow associated with the homosexuals, and it's all going into play with the 11th house because the 11th house rules over homosexuality. So notice I have a pot of gold. That's my best rendition of a pot of gold, y'all, as well, at the end of the rainbow. And I have a dollar sign on top of that as well. Why? Because the 11th house, which Aquarius rules over, is a money house in astrology. All right. It really represents group profits or corporate profits. So remember that as well as I go through this discussion. So we got a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and we knew this before the symbol was hijacked by the homosexual community, that there was always a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, right? When you're talking about the leprechaun, when you're talking about Lucky Charms or cereal, you always see a pot of gold over the rainbow, right? So this is what I mean about oppositions as well, especially in astrology, is with squares as well. When you go address a square, when two planets are 90 degrees apart from each other, it's an obstacle. You clear the obstacle, you might find some, not just a lesson, but some wealth and some experience that can, gain you wisdom. The same thing can occur with oppositions. All right. So it's like you go over the rainbow, you get this pot of gold. You understand where I'm going with this? So if we look at the opposition of Aquarius, now the rainbow, the pot of gold, doesn't the sun represent gold in astrology? Yes, it does. And doesn't it rule over the 5th house? Yes, it does. And doesn't the 5th house oppose the 11th house in astrology? Yes, it does. 180 degrees apart from it. So why is the gold over there? It's a good question, because again, the 11th house is a money house. It is a money house. All right. So let's get back down to the 5th house and explain a couple of things. I know you heard of starving artists before, right? And a lot of the times that's where these creators are. Just because you get to creating music, dance, acting, all of these types of things, even when it comes to the fashion, the knickknacks, the skits, the TikTok videos, all of these things that you're doing, you're usually doing them because it makes you feel happy. Sometimes people get goofy in front of the camera and it really makes them feel good. Some of the times it's not even about the other people. And they just happen to strike oil when the other people engage and they like it as well, right? But money, let's be for real. How many people are really paying advances out there for this type of entertainment, for this type of us doing what we do, creating, bringing it to the screen for you? There's no paychecks for this, is basically what I'm saying. And this is all fifth house energy, right? It's just creating from the soul. And a lot of the times this stems from soul purpose, at least for those authentic creators who are not just doing it because they know they can benefit in some type of way because they've seen others doing it, so they're mimicking it. This is more streamlined towards those types of creators. So you have the star of an artist there, and we're already situated that there's not, nobody's writing checks for this on a everyday basis, 5 days a week. Come get your check at the end of the week type thing. It's not really happening now. In some instances, you'll see your producers making beats. They get hired by the label, continuously doing it like that. But even like especially in the acting world, they're not pumping out checks for this type of stuff. You get what I'm saying? And when they do, it's big companies that can afford to do so, and they won't always stick around. If you hear, especially now with all this information around the internet, you hear how only 6 groups, maybe tops, own most of all of these record companies under umbrella. So a lot of these companies pop up and they disappear because they can't even sustain the type of money to continue paying artists to create, because business and art is not hand in hand. It's totally different. Totally different. That's why the houses are in conjunct apart from each other of operational business and creativity to begin with. All right, so keep this in mind. So what you see is the sign Virgo next to Leo, because that's next. And the reason why I drew this up like this is because it's an equation. Always remember that 2 houses over from whatever house that we're talking about is the benefit of that house. I need you to understand that for this explanation. So you count the house that we're in, and then you count the next house over. That's 2 houses. So if we're in Leo, we count that as 1, and we go over to 2, we count that as the sign Virgo. So it's the benefit of Leo when you get inside of the sign Virgo. Now, what happens when these entertainers get in the entertainment circle is they move the crowd, they move the stage. With that comes popularity, with that comes the women. That's why I put Gold Digger there. Ladies, don't take it personal. I'm pretty sure that we all know some women who are forking over money to their man right now these days, right? There are women out there who are earning, and their man has gotten half from them. So just go along with what I'm saying based upon the symbology of astrology for this teaching, okay? I'm not attacking y'all. So Virgo does represent the woman in astrology though, right? So let's just pay close attention to this. So, but let's also talk about the sign Leo. It's a generous sign. The sun is there, it represents the sun. So you're going to end up wanting to do something and be generous for people anyway, especially when you're generating energy around you like the 5th house does. And should there come some gold in any of these instances, whether you do a neighborhood show or whatever the case may be, somebody wants to pay you for a commercial, whatever it is that you do, the fame, the popularity, you're going to run into some women, and that might be where you get the tricking your gold off, get the spending your money or being generous on, right? So my thing is to keep this in mind. Your opposition probably knows this very well. And what do homosexual men do? I'm just saying based upon what I see on TV and the movies, all right? They observe this type of behavior between man and woman, and they probably look at it as folly, and they look at it as like, oh, okay, you're going to be stupid with your money, and you're going to give it to that, that woman, homosexual men who have strong distaste for women anyway, those types. They frown down on that type of activity that takes place in the 5th house, romance and gambling on relationships and, spending wild money. And you can see this a lot in the entertainment industry. I'm pretty sure y'all are aware when I'm talking about hint, hint, wink, wink. A lot of things going down in elevators and stuff like that around, so this is the type of activity that I'm talking about. Again, it could be toxic. It could be fun. They're just having a fun night out. Something happens. Maybe they had a couple of too many drinks, and now they thinking about their wallet, how much they spent on them. Shit just happens. It's a gamble. It's the fifth house. That's what I'm saying. This is all astrological. I don't have no personal stuff with any of this, except for the fact that I would like to be protected as a straight male. You're damn right. So this is why I'm doing this video, period. I'm gonna put that out there. But again, let's get back to the lesson. So you got your gold digger here, and I wanted to express that because a lot of the times, yes, we're gonna want to spend our money or spend our time and go gamble and date a chick somewhere, right? So again, the opposition knows this, they observe it, they look down on it like, ha, 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 ha. And they got their crew, they got their clique of men up there on the other side, or whatever the case may be. And because they're so, I guess you could say, happy, right, in the 11th house, because they're not experiencing the drama of interacting with a woman on a regular basis, they get to sit on this gold and play, I don't want to say God, but play this, this position of power to where it says, they could dangle carrots. Oh God, the term that I'm using, pause, or whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? Let's have some fun while we doing this too. But they can dangle carrots in front of your face, knowing that there's really no money in that unless you get to the 10th house. So we spoke about this in the last video, right? So notice, let's move up to the 10th house now. And I got the 2 houses over thing. 2 houses over from the 10th house is your career benefits. So this is how we get to the 11th house, the corporate revenue, corporate profit house, should I say. This is the profits that we're talking about, right? So when it comes to these guys and these gals and these actresses and these actors, these models and these entertainers signing deals, they reach that state in the 10th house where if they get that potentiality and they blow up to that degree, then they get to go into that 11th house where this takes place. And no, I'm not saying that all 11th house interaction is homosexual. I am not. But I need to explain that Aquarius does rule over homosexuality so that you can know that. We are going to get into many more things that the 11th house lords over and Aquarius lords over. So let's get into that now. Okay, so now you see on the diagram that we have here now, I have a face of, this is an 11th house face, y'all. So we're going to say this is the typical homosexual man, all right? And again, I'm just using the genders because a lot of the times this is how it's just put out there, you know what I mean? But if you know, if you know homosexual women too, you could turn the man into a woman. It's just wild that I even have to even go here and speak about that. But this is how touchy things have become in this communicative thing that we're in right now. But anyway, that's my homosexual face guy up there representing the 11th house. And the reason why he's got his eyes like that is because he's looking down at the opposition, which is the 5th house, right? So again, like I was saying, there's really no money when it comes to creativity. Not in the beginning anyway, unless, and this is what happens. This is how it typically happens. You could get an investor from the 1st house. So you see I got lines that's coming and curving over to the 5th house at the bottom here, right? Starting with the 1st house. That might be that individual in your neighborhood who's getting money, right? And, it could be from their job. They could have a nice job. They got extra left over. They stacked up a lot. They see potential in the neighborhood. People who are doing their thing creatively in the shows and the clubs on the weekend and stuff like that. They say, hey, man, look, we're going to get the studio equipment, or, hey, we're going to make some reels of you doing your acting thing. We're going to get you an agent. We're going to get your stuff out there. We're going to get you into a film, and, we're going to support you. We're going to get behind you financially and stuff like that, right? And the reason why I'm speaking like this is because the 5th house also rules over investments. So if you know people, this is a tip, right? If you know people who are in the entertainment, they're into creativity and stuff like that, also know that the 5th house rules over investments as well. So you don't have to wait for some big label to come and sign you. Now, I can guarantee you that a lot of the kids, they look up to this because it's been a proven strategy for other people who have boosted their careers through this type of process. And when you come from impoverished neighborhoods and really don't have much anyway, the average kid, the average young artist is going to feel like they finessed the label anyway. I don't care what the advance is. They're going to feel if they album dropped or not, they're going to be like, well, I got $5,000. I got $50,000. I got $20,000. Finesse them. That's how these dudes, I'm telling you, that's how they on it. You know what I'm saying? In case you didn't know. So, but it's a proven strategy. So that's why they look up to it. But because the fifth house rules over investments, a teacher at an elementary school can invest in you. And this is something that is very important to know, especially in this day and age, because you got the power at your fingertips to be your own entrepreneur. Whereas back then it was very streamlined and you had to know somebody. Now it's about what you know. It's the information age. It's the knowledge age. This is the Aquarius age. So things are changing. So this is very important information right here. So like I was saying, a single investor can come invest in you in the fifth house of creativity. That could be a thing. Or it could be the third house. It could be more than one person. It could be a group of individuals in a community. Community-based economics is powerful. But a lot of the times, and especially what's happening now, is you see people jumping states to get to the next big thing because certain cities have power structures and certain states have power structures that are put in place that are more powerful than other people's communities. So they'll get to traveling and migrating to those spots, right? But if you get a group of people in your own community, you can invest in an artist that you feel has the potential to reach 10th house plateau, to reach 11th house plateau as well. You could be a part of that 11th house group. 11th house rules over groups as well. That gets those corporate profits that homosexuals enjoy as well. So this is a very important tip for y'all. Also, the fourth house, you see a line going from the fourth house to the fifth house. Your family. You know, in business school, they say go to your friends and your family members first. When you're just kicking off, you never know what they might be able to do for you. Even if they're just buying your products and services, they might be the first ones to do it. You know what I mean? So that's an option as well, to invest in the fifth house, which rules over investments. But what happens is, as I spoke about before, this has been a proven strategy for the people with the big labels to come down, or the big agents, or the big, film producers to come down to the fifth house, to look down on the fifth house and say, look, they don't got it like that. I know they don't got it like that. We got all of the money. We got all of the resources. So we're going to be the investors in them. And that's how we're going to control this whole thing. Nobody gets in without going through us. So what happens is, that's why you see the arrows pointing down in the power structure. All right. Now, the 11th house face is looking at the 10th house, like who's going to fill this position and how long are they going to hold it, right? So in a prior video, remember I spoke about the 10th house being a place where Mars is exalted at. So it's really not about your crew and your entourage when you reach there. It's about how powerful are you as a person to think about yourself, to put your blinders on and think about yourself, to hold that position. And in some instances, your ego may get involved, or you may even take it to war, or get frustrated to the point where you can't even take it no more. You know what I'm saying? And if you slip while in that position, let's say after your first success happens, say you strike it big when you first get on film, anything dealing with entertainment, right? What happens is you automatically fall into that 11th house sector because you succeeded, you had success, right? You're not in debt, you're not in the red. You've made it, right? So you start going to those parties and those office meetings where these 11th house individuals are, primarily homosexuals. I don't know if you've seen some videos going around, interviews, when they say like there's certain doors that you see, and whether you want to walk into those doors or not are totally up to you. So this is where this comes from. You understand what I'm saying? Once you've made these people in this 11th house sector successful, and you might have not ever met them before. You might not even ever heard of these people before until you became a success. Now you're getting invited into certain parties, to certain homes that wasn't even in a thought before. You understand what I'm saying? So let's say you fall into this sector, or you meet these people in this sector, and you just can't take the responsibility and the pressure of holding that spot down for a continuous run. So now you know these people in this sector, and now they're looking at you like, oh, so you don't got another hit record in you? Oh, you don't, that last movie you did flopped. They may not want to talk to you like that no more. Or they may, if you did do something strange for a piece of change, or just maybe you were interested, maybe you were intrigued, maybe you were curious, they call it, right? Then now they have this information hovering over you. You don't know what they might utilize it for, right? They might use blackmail. They might even try to buy you out of your current deal to get you a new one, but now they're in control of you because they have their own personal interests in you. And it may be outside of business. It may be because of their sexuality. You understand what I'm saying? So, but the point is, what they'll do is, it's like mining. It's like mining for information, right? That's a huge thing in this day and age as well, of the Aquarius age, for mining for data. So what this 11th house will do is they'll utilize the 10th house people, because don't get it confused. In order for the 10th house to stay in play, the 11th house people who got all the profits. So they got to kick back money out to keep that 10th house machine operational business running, right? It comes in around. It's like a cycle. So they say, okay, y'all made us some money. We're going to pump some money back in. This is what I want you to do. I want you to go hover down back over the 5th house, see who's hot in the hood, who's heating up, who got the hottest record, who's poor as shit. You know what I mean? And we're going to invest in them, and we're going to get them up here, or battling it out to come into these rooms with us. You get what I'm saying? And this is what Little Mama is speaking about, like how this is transpiring in not only this industry, but a lot of business industries that have 11th house, because every business has it, right? The people who benefit from it, and they sit and they make decisions. So again, to emphasize my point about the 10th house needing the 11th house to continue, it's like you'll see a CEO on a board, on a running a company, right? And usually that's the name that's put in the headlines, but it's not the 11th house people who's putting the headlines. These are the people that you hear them say, oh, these are the people on the board, or these are the shareholders in the background, right? The silent partners. These are those people, right? And when the CEO has had enough eventually, or, maybe they even made enough bread, or they've done enough bidding to maintain that 11th house thing, and they've made money as well. What do you hear in the press? What do you hear in these meetings? What they'll say is, oh, they're stepping down from their position as CEO to go sit on the board. You get what I'm saying? That's 11th house shit, B. That's 11th house shit. So again, to emphasize what I'm saying, in order for who's going to be the new CEO, right? They've had successful acts come out of this one company, so to speak, and you can put the pieces together. Who's hot? What company is hot right now, right? Okay, well, who's going to be running it now that this person stepped down and went to the board, right? They're going to have to do business with the 11th house sector in order to get those finances and resources to keep this thing going, right? So what they do is they send them down to the 5th house and they do the investing. Oh, this person got 1 million views, or this girl Instagram is popping. They got all of the little girls watching her, this and the third, invest in her. You know what I mean? And this is what they do. This is how the machine goes. This is the power structure of how this stuff happens. So moving right along. Now, this bullying by homosexuals that Little Mama is talking about, this is not something that is just overt. This is something that is subtly done behind the scenes, puppet masters pulling strings. However, when you're looking and you got intuition and you could see through things, you can see it happening. If you try to speak about it openly, or let's say you try to make a convincing argument, then that's when you can meet some resistance. And why? I'll break it down right now. It's called populism. Populism versus vocation. Now, populism is basically the opposition. Now, key word here, op. Tell me you haven't heard the word op being loosely used rapidly throughout the entertainment industry lately, right? Right or wrong? Okay, so follow me on this. Now, populism is basically that, the opposition of the status quo, against what the raging machine, I guess you can say, against the elite. Okay? That's what vocation represents, aka elite, as you see on the diagram. Now, don't think that this is something new. This has been going on since Rome. This has been going on since Egypt. This has been going on since society has been put into play. Civilization has been put into play. Okay? So what's happening is this is being advertised to the masses. Okay? This is how the advertisements are going. So politics and entertainment is actually being masked for populism versus vocation. So I'll give you an example. Like the past president was a populist. Why? Because his slang was, I'm going to drain the swamp. I'm going against the status quo. I'm going to take them down. I represent the people, right? That's what a populist is. So anytime you see that, and this goes in the entertainment industry as well. If you see people talking about, oh, they go my op, this, that, and the third, my op, they're being a populist off the bat just because they're saying that they oppose something that is in the way. Okay. And you can see as well how, and it could be vice versa. It gets real tricky when you talk about populism because the elite can be considered the artist or the label or the movie producer with the most money or the most plaques or the most awards, who produce the greatest, biggest budget films and stuff like that. They can be seen as the elite. And then the newcomers can be seen as the populists because they're going up against the establishment. You see what I'm saying? So it can be really tricky because, and this is Piscean energy, I kid y'all not. This is Piscean energy because populism has to adapt, right? They can always say, oh yeah, we're going against those people, and they can point out some things that they're going up against. And then you might be like, well, wait a minute, you don't like other countries, or how'd you hire so many illegal immigrants to build your buildings then? You know, how are they making your clothes overseas in Asia if you represent the people? You know what I'm saying? So then when these things start getting revealed, it gets really tricky, but it also outs these people who, I guess for a lack of a better term, put on their masks and do their best to deceive the people, right? That's a Piscean technique. It's deception. It's to deceive, or it ends up being that way anyway, right? We can get into deeper particulars of that in another time, another video, but I just want to emphasize what this whole populism versus vocation thing is. Now, vocation, let's talk more about vocation in the elite. Vocation in the elite is more like the 10th house. All right. And that's because there's rules and there's regulations. They're always going to be there in the 10th house. It doesn't matter if you're rich. Remember my prior video, I said you don't have to be rich and have a whole lot of money to have a career. You could just be making it paycheck to paycheck every time, but you're just so successful because you're great at what you do. You have the ambition to address all obstacles, climb that mountain, and get to the top as the GOAT does. Bottom line. So what happens is a lot of experience comes with that. A lot of know-how comes with that. So it doesn't matter how much a person invests in people. If you can't do what the elite does, it doesn't matter. It'll fall apart. It'll crumble all the time. That team will lose. You could pump $1 billion into them. They'll lose because the elite has the know-how. That's just the way that it goes, right? So remember before I said the 11th house is going to be looking to the 10th house. 10th house is going to be looking to the 11th house because they got the profits to say, hey, look, man, you gotta keep these paychecks coming in so we can keep this building going. But let's say the 11th house elites, and in this instance, the homosexuals, don't want to give up the bread. Oh, the elite can keep it pushing and say, oh, you don't want to kick out the money? We'll leave. Right? So if you've heard these stories as well, the top heads of these companies will leave that company, go to another company under another management. They'll leave, start their own label, do their own movie, Key and Peele type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, they're the biggest thing out. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm just putting emphasis on how populists go against the elite. Y'all get my drift, right? So now let's get more into this, because I did mention that there's more things relative to the 11th house. There's a lot of things relative to the 11th house in Aquarius, not just homosexuality. So we're not going to put it there as, oh, I don't want to put fear in you to say, oh, because you're going to reach success that you're automatically going to become a homosexual or you're going to be attacked by homosexuals. I'm not saying that. The 11th house is full of things, right? Full of things. But one thing that we must take heed of is all of the tools that are there and how they're being exercised to do this type of bullying and how it can be rebelled against, because rebellion is another thing that is ruled by, that Aquarius rules over and the 11th house rules over. It's rebellion. Okay. It's the rebellion. So again, populism versus the elite, that's a whole rebellious act right there. And what you see, and I'm going to just keep it a buck. I know y'all know, for all of y'all who listen to hip hop and y'all watching the scenery, these feuds are excelling at a rapid rate. Day by day, now you hit this one got beef with this one got beef. They're all rebelling against each other. They're all getting armed up and everything. Like, it's just happening right in front of your face. The knowledge is there. The truth is there. The Aquarius age is here, you know. And another thing that's associated with the 11th house in Aquarius is freedom. You see, I have that labeled up there as well. But freedom to do what, right? Freedom to do what? It might just be freedom to do whatever you want, right? Even go as far as saying, hey, kid wants a sex change, give it to them, right? So let me bounce around this diagram a little bit, because I got a lot going on in this diagram. I got the Baphomet up there because I want to explain something about oppositions, right? Because if you also see opposing from the 10th house where Capricorn rules over, there's Cancer, which rules over family. Now, little mama, for one, has a strong family. She has a strong family. And not for nothing, and this is not to take anything away from her, she had a smash record. Lip Gloss is popping. She had a couple of other joints too, but that one was her main smash that got her into the limelight. And then she's involved with a lot of different big shows and stuff on TV and stuff like that too, like MTV and stuff like that. And, you know, being judges on different shows and stuff like that. So she's relevant. But my point is this: she has a strong family and a strong foundation. So she's taking a strong risk by putting herself out there like that. And that's because she has such a strong foundation. She's going to get it by any means. She's going to be all right. And she knows this. But at the same time, this is a real thing that's happening. And I say that to say this: the Baphomet symbol to me, of course, is the goat. It's the goat with the hooves. That's self-explanatory. The goat head, that's self-explanatory. But it's also the breasts on this goat. And a lot of the times you see these statues or this symbol with children at the throne of this goat. So what this means to me, and y'all can get in the comment section and put your own spin on it or correct me or whatever you want to do. What this means to me, my interpretation of this is the opposition shows you that Capricorn in the 10th house can take your children away. And parents, I know some of y'all have gone through this, to where no matter what you tell your child, they're more into what's popular, they're more into what's hip and what's trendy. And that is all emphasized and highlighted by the 10th house of career. So they'll leave out of your house, they'll sneak out at night to go to a concert. You've been there or you've heard about it, right? So this is what this opposition means to me. So when you frame that same type of ideology and you spin it onto Aquarius opposing Leo, and you see I have the Christians there with the sun again, is that when the rebellion comes, the Christians won the last war. They won. But why? It's because they got together, they got fed up, and they said they got burning with the need to destroy all of the bullshit that was going on. So they got together under one banner. And once the sun gets flaming and it gets too hot, what are you going to do? You're going to try to give it rules and regulations? No, all hell's going to break loose. Everything's going to get destroyed. You're going to have to start all over again. The dynasties and the kingdoms are going to have to start all over again. But my point is, the Christians won last time, right? And that's when because the sun, this is how I want you to think about it. I'm not going to get into particulars of all of that either, with the whole crusades and the Inquisition and all. I'm not going to get into all of that, all right? Those who know, you know what I mean? But when you dealing with the sun, you're dealing with what you see when the lights get turned on. And for those who are in love with what they see and in love with this world, they will go above and beyond to protect it. Okay? So that's what I'm saying about this rebellion and this opposition with Leo and Aquarius. But peep game, right? Now peep this. Aquarius also rules over technology. It rules over the internet then, right? So now you have publishing, instantaneous publishing at the power of your fingertips. So yeah, this empowers the individual for one, because Aquarius rules over individuals as well, individual freedom at that. But it also rules over groups and networking. So how do you get out of the web and still be an individual? And this is what I mean. These people are crafty. This is not something that is just randomly done. This is some subtle, strategic type of interaction, because they invest, they hunt for the individuals, which is easy now. I don't know if you're familiar with the entertainment industry in the late 80s and the 90s and stuff like that, but you had to actually go out into the clubs and go to the ghettos to find this creative talent. That's how you had to scout it out. Now it's sit back in a chair like this and just turn on a tool, you turn on the internet, you find them just like that, because everybody's putting their stuff up. You understand what I'm saying? Very simple now, very easy thing to do. And because a lot of creators know that they don't have the bag, and these type of individuals do have the bag, and they're willing and ready to invest in the next best thing, some of these individuals are going out of their way to do outlandish acts on the internet, and that crime included. This is absurd to me, how many criminals are putting their crimes online. So this is another reason why I frame this dialogue like that with the Christians versus humanity, because we got to look at Aquarius 11th house, which rules over humanity as well, and freedom as well. What are we saying about this freedom and humanity? That you are free to do anything you want? Think about it, because the more desensitized the viewers on the internet become when it comes to seeing George Floyd being murdered on live television and those types of things, the more you're going to notice that it can happen. Like you can actually see that. When I was a kid, you couldn't see that on television. They did not put that on television. When I was a kid, they didn't even put certain sex scenes on television. You had to really go to the movie theater for certain movies, or you had to go to the XXX store and all that and go steal your pop stuff from under the mattress and shit like that. Like, you couldn't see all of this stuff that you can see now. And this was just like yesterday. So you get what I'm talking about? What's going to be next? The snuff parties. This is how snuff parties be happening and stuff like that. Trafficking and stuff like that be occurring, because how can you see it so much and it's not being, I'd say, addressed at a level to where law is putting the smackdown on this? And this is because, right, or this is one factor in it, is because the people who have power in the 11th house are helping to shape policy, and it's being masked with humanity, the goal to give humanity freedom, right? So now the new policy is different than law, y'all. Let me make that clear. You can look that up on your own to figure out the difference. But with people pump back money, let's say through lobbying and stuff like that, and they say, change policy on this, and let's say, you can get married at 12 over here and this, that, and the third. That's why I say Arkansas is so important, because should it go through, definitely at least straight people who still believe in man and woman and balancing things out and marriage and bringing children into the world on that type of accord will have a place to go. Because 11th house rules over groups and segmented groups. Although the New World Order is supposed to be this unified thing, it will be segmented into groups. It just has to be that way. That's what the 11th house is about. Now, you want to talk unified on a completely, we're talking Piscean, we're talking a highly spiritual at that, different topic, different video, different time, right? But when we're talking about Aquarius, we're talking about the rebellion. We're talking about the fight for this. And it's really tricky, because these tools and these devices are being used as instruments to make this thing occur. So you notice I got Uranus and labeled in Aquarius as well. Now, Uranus, the planet, rules over Aquarius. And this is interesting because this is also why I have Baphomet up there as well, because a lot of people keep saying the devil is responsible for homosexuality. And it's the offset. You could look at it as the offset because, again, 2 houses over from the 10th house in Capricorn is the 11th house, which rules over homosexuality. Astrology too, but rules over homosexuality. But it's not the 10th house that rules over homosexuality. Remember, the 10th house is about Mars, exalted in Mars, the individual who can hold that top dog spot. So what? It don't even got nothing to do with 2 people. It's that one person. So we're not even talking about we're not even talking about that unless somebody tries to take that spot from them forcefully, and then they got to get busy or something like that. You understand what I'm saying? But Uranus, on the other hand, is exalted inside of the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio is life after marriage. It's about other people, other people's money and stuff like that. So Scorpio also rules over the libido. Uranus rules over Aquarius. Uranus represents change, spontaneity, eccentric. So if Scorpio rules over the libido and Uranus rules over change, Scorpio rules over sex, Uranus rules over change, and Uranus is exalted in the sign of Scorpio, therefore you have sex change, right? It's right here. It's just right here for you. I'm just breaking it down for you. You know what I mean? But again, I sound like the greatest devil's advocate of all time now, right? But I'm serious because a lot of people keep saying, Baphomet, the devil, whatever you want to call him, is responsible for homosexuality. No, study more. Study more. You'll figure it out. Now, Saturn, which rules over Capricorn in the 10th house, is exalted in Libra. Okay? So we're going to get into that right now, a breakdown of where I'm going with that. Now, the sign Libra rules over marriage, but also just basically fundamentally rules over contracting. So Saturn is a unbiased planet. You put in, you get out, you use discretion, you use patience sometimes. Sometimes there's some fear involved and patience. I said that already, right? But these are the things that are involved, and then you get lessons from this. Saturn is a great rewarder, and you'll learn that in time. It's pretty much a lot of the times in hindsight. But once you get used to it, you know that reward is coming, right? This is the planet. This is the sign that Saturn is exalted in. Not rules over, but is exalted in. It's in the sign of Libra, and Libra is about that balance again. So, yeah, the first thing you would think normally is man and woman with this contract, right? That's why I be stressing marriage. If you're going to get into marriage, it's a business deal. That's why Saturn is there. Y'all get together and from the start, this is about business. It's not about dating. This is not about the 5th house. You're having fun with a girl. You're going a few dates here and there, and now she's the one or he's the one, really. If y'all taking it there, y'all need to know that y'all are going to have to put work in. Unbiased work. Right? But what's happening here? Let's get to what's happening. So I got the 3s going on in this diagram. So let's get back down to the 5th house where the sign Leo is, and you see I have the artist there, right? So you count 3 houses over from Leo. Why am I counting 3 houses? Because 3, the 3rd house, Gemini rules over contracts. So when you get 3 houses over from Leo, you land in the sign of Libra. So this is where they be like, oh, you're selling yourself to the devil. Once you sign on the dotted line, again. Now, don't get me wrong. The devil has also been associated with Prince of the Air, right? I know you heard that before. And Libra is an air sign. So you might want to do a little research into Libra when you look into this type of stuff. But here goes a great point to bring that out, right? You got to sign the deal first. Right? You got to sign a deal first. What's happening a lot of the times is when you hear this one signed to that one and this one signed to that one and that one signed to that one, a lot of these deals are done with men making deals with men, right? Do you hear about men signing with women a lot? Do you hear about women signing with men a lot? Well, probably more women signing with men, especially in the workforce, right? More men business leaders in the workforce or whatever the case may be. But again, bringing up gender for a reason because just because Libra is not necessarily ruling over marriage. Let's say you get into business deals and you're doing business deals with men. It shouldn't be so alarming, and the average person gets baffled when they hear about the homosexuality that's going on once you get to the 11th house. Another air sign is basically what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying? So now, again, let's talk about Aquarius, though, and individual freedom. It represents over that, too. It rules over that, too. So today's age, you can get your own studio set up. You can get one of these. You can get an iPad. You can get GarageBand. I'll be making music in GarageBand through my iPad. Some people be like, no way, you're lying. There's no way. I'll be like, yo, I put this mic in my iPad. I make the beat in the GarageBand. I say it. I upload it. I do my best mixing and mastering, and I upload it, and I'm gone. I could publish it. I could put it right on the market just like that. So my point here is, why is everybody running for the bag? Again, money, right? Oh, this person got a $500,000 advance. Some people get $7,000 advance. But again, something is better than nothing, right? So people will take the right now money than to wait and learn all of these things that I'm talking about that you can do as an individual before they leap into that. And then you've heard the success stories about some artists who, paved their own way independently, should I say. And, even some of them, they have taken bigger deals now because of whatever reason that they feel is best. You know what I mean? I don't sit there and watch all of the interviews and stuff like that, but I do look for that part just to see, are they still independent? I be wanting to know that type of stuff. But my point here is that the individual can do it. You as an individual and an individual artist that can do it. You don't have to go 3 houses over to Libra and sign a contract. And if let's say you do, it might just be with a channel company. And a channel company is like Facebook, Apple, these types of companies who have large platforms that you can put your stuff on. And it's already like a self-made engine, automated in some types of instances, except for exclusive deals like for bigger artists like Drake. And I guess you could say they found the cheat code or whatever because of their success already. But my point is, if you can get your song next to a Drake song in Apple, that's a big deal, right? Because they could at least look at your song like, oh, if your cover is catchy enough, they might press play and get that little 30-second glimpse of what you got going on there. You understand what I'm saying? So this is what I'm saying. Like, if you do want to sign a contract, you could sign those types of deals with these channel companies just to utilize their platform for little to nothing when you think about it, right? So, but you don't have to go to a man CEO sitting at a desk or a manager who's going to take 20% of whatever that man at that CEO gives you at that 10th house desk and get into all of these contracts with these different men is pretty much what I'm saying. Because it's like sleeping in this when they say, oh, this person is in bed with this one. It's like what that is when you sign contracts with people, theoretically speaking, should I say. But it can be figurative. It could be literally speaking when you get to the 11th house, obviously. And this is what Little Mama is talking about. How these people are bullying you and say, oh, you want that next deal? You better come sit on that couch. You better come in this party with us. You better come to this room with us. Or we could slice that in half. Or we could make sure we could get you shelved. That's what she's talking about. So let's go 3 more houses over, right? Let's say you do sign a contract and whatever deal that you get into, 3 houses over from Libra lands you in the 9th house. There, I have the word community because the 3rd house, another 3, also rules over community. So now, guess who's your community now? It's not the community that you grew up in. Your community now is the press. It's the press. So let's just think about who knows what about you when you get to this level. Because this community, that's why they say you got to go on these press runs, right? You got something dropping. You better, do you have a rumor out? Who are you dating right now? Even if we got to make this up, we need to put something out there. I mean, these days, but even if we're not making up, let's pry into your private life. What's going on with you and so? Let's talk about that. You got any kids? You got illegitimate kids? Let's make an article on that. Let's make a, just anything. Come up to the radio show. Get an interview from this one. Get an interview from that one. You got beef with somebody? You don't got no beef. You better get into some beef. Make a diss track. Make a diss record. So what? Get some ops. I'm just putting stuff out there for you to get a grasp of what I'm saying here astrologically, right? It's really objective when you look at the breakdown like this in astrology, right? So again, now the press is your community now, and you're just like, you've come a long way. You might move to another state. You might have new friends and all that. And I'm not saying this is a wrong thing to do. I'm not saying it's a right thing to do. I'm just telling you how this is, all right? And 4 houses over from that contract lands you in the 10th house. So now that's your home. The label is your home now. And remember the opposition that I spoke about in the diagram with Capricorn opposing Cancer in the 4th house, where your family is. Now you got a new home. Now you got a new family. That's at the label, right? So that's what it is. And they be like, oh, you can't come back home, or, they mama's still in the peas or whatever. Those types of terms are thrown around when you see this type of activity take place in business, in the industry and stuff like that, right? So now the benefit of that home, of course, again, is in the 11th house. And this is what I spoke about before. Now, law is ruled by the 10th house. Policy and the shaping of policy, I told you, is different. And this is where the lobbyists come in. This is where these groups, this is an 11th house term, come in and they say, oh, hey, I know you rule over this stuff, because again, I told you, the elite is the elite, yo. And that's just the bottom line. This stuff probably won't ever end in life. The elite is the elite. So even the 11th house knows, these groups, they know they got to go to the elite. They got to go to the establishment and say, listen, can we influence you a little bit? Can we throw some money around here to persuade you to put some policy into place that can, make things going our way here and there? And this is what you see occurring. I'm not going to get into particulars about the different laws and the policies that are that are put into place. You know what I'm talking about. You can get in the comment section. You can even name them, so we can have some dialect on this knowledge in the comment section. But this is how it's done: through groups, through lobbying, through NRAs, and all of these different types of groups that come to the head of the structure, which is the elite, which is the 10th house, which is where the devil rules, if you want to call it that. That's where Capricorn is. That's where the Baphomet is. And again, law is different from policy. If you just want to put a distinction on it, law does not change in this country anyway. Some of these laws are just put into play, and that's it. So when you hear people very adamant about the Constitution and stuff like that, that's law. These policies are like when the old president was in, the new president comes in and the executive order just reverses everything. That's policy. You know what I mean? Okay, yeah. Oh, y'all think y'all hot right now? Wait till we get back in. We changing all of that shit back to. You understand what I'm saying? That's policy. And a whole lot of money gets spent on these 4, 8-term things, only to be reversed a lot of the times and flipped back over and changed later on in life anyway. So this is my breakdown on how the tools are utilized by the homosexual community to influence, persuade, and get their way in the industry, and that they're able to bully and force themselves onto people and shut stuff down and, do what it is that they do. This is what Little Mama was highlighting in her stance. This is what she's being attacked for now. Just gaining more notoriety and publicity behind this. And, Arkansas just signed a policy into play. So, again, this rebellion is what you're seeing right now. This is the rebellion taking place for the Aquarius age. And this new world order, this unifying of humanity will be sectored off, yo. It's going to be sectioned off. That's what you're going to see. That's what you are seeing. The ops this, ops that, ops this, ops that. And not for nothing, Aquarius is a very smart sign. It's a very smart place to be. So I say, I tell people this all the time. Pisces is wisdom. Aquarius is smart, like book smart, like knowledge smart. A and B makes that, that's the answer, proven scientifically. Okay, there's nothing to argue about. This is objective. We all can agree on this. It's nothing, there's no debate. That's the truth. That's the bottom line. Can't shun your way away from it. And the people, and again, this is not all homosexuals. There are mental giants and there are elite people inside of the 11th house construct that have a lot of knowledge, and they're just waiting for people to play their hands, opt this, opt that, go to war, crash, burn. New people come in, oh, y'all want to do it too? Just think about it, the Georgia Guidestones and the depopulation of people on Earth. It's a perfect setup now. The concoction is there. It's ready. You got all these tools put into place. All these southern states that can freely carry guns and stuff like that. Now all of the drugs are piling it. Oh, y'all don't want to have that conversation, do y'all? Maybe, maybe not. But you get where I'm going. The tools and the devices are there. You're seeing it play out. And my point here is that the sign of Aquarius is smart. It's not just about homosexuality. It's about, listen, knowledge is at your fingertips. What type of knowledge will you obtain? How will you apply it? Will you do it recklessly? Will you do it quickly? Will you not use work? Will you just go for all fun and play? Live in the moment? You might strike rich, you might become rich, but what consequences come with that? How smart are you? That's where we're at right now, y'all. So I hope this helps, especially if you watched it all the way through. Thank you. I know this is lengthy. The last video was lengthy too, but I seen y'all been rocking with it. I wanted to come with stronger content, so this is it. You know what I mean? See y'all next time. Get in the comment section. Let me know what's good. I'm out.